One of the more disturbing creatures you will encounter in Dead Space isn't even going to be one that chases you down. It's not going to be a creature that constantly regenerates, and it's not even going to be one made of multitude of bodies. No, the more unsettling one is going to be the Wall Guardians, as the moans of the creature are actually going to portray the reality of the situation this unfortunate person has been forced into. But what exactly caused this person to become such a twisted and disfigured version of their self? Let's jump into the lore and biology of the Wall Guardian. First, let's get into what exactly this creature is and even why it exists. First and foremost, they are going to be really composed of a single person. They're going to be sessile necromorphs, which means they don't move, who have become fused to the wall in certain areas. These immobile creatures do not appear to have any repurposed limbs to speak of, and they are still pretty much very lethal. If anyone gets too close to investigate the suction cup thing to the wall, it will be their instant death and decapitation of the person. These types of necromorphs exist for one of two reasons. The first is that the necromorphs are in like a sensitive area. They do just as their name implies, and they are guardians. Say a newly formed juvenile hive mind is behind a couple doors, a wall guardian is put in the area to stop any would-be hero engineers from taking down the whole plan. They will guard and ensure the safety of the necromorph in the area. The second reason is really much less cool. They're just obstacles. I feel like sometimes the marker likes to screw with you and make you think that there is something in the area worth protecting, but really it's just a form of crowd control. If you were to get a group of survivors running through an area and a guardian was located there, odds are they are not going to be making it out intact. So, how does a wall guardian even come to be? Great question, random viewer. To answer that though, we need to learn about what the corruption is. Think of corruption as a readily available biomass. It also serves many other purposes, however. The main one being that it is actually going to be an atmosphere changer. It will uptake oxygen and then turn it into a poisonous gas. With a species' atmosphere changed, they will quickly die off, creating more biomass for the necromorphs. It has also been shown that the corruption will show up during the early stages of a necromorph outbreak and slow down humans, allowing necromorphs to kill anybody who has become ensnared in the stuff. And then they themselves will probably be turned into the corruption. The nature of the corruption is that it is definitely an organic material and it's made out of humans. Seeing this is the case, it is almost like a form of necromorph, albeit it won't outright kill you. However, it does strengthen the necromorphs in certain environments, such as 0G, and helps them adapt, which is actually kind of cool. It can close off certain areas, it can pretty much gunk up doors to stop them from opening, and it can also interface with other living human cells, which leads us to our next portion covering the first stages of a wall guardian formation. First, let's establish that the fledgling wall guardian, I guess you could call it, I'm just going to call it the Proto wall guardian to keep them separated. These are going to be the people, and yes, I do mean people as they are still very much alive, to exist on the walls in a somewhat human form. Their brains are still alive with even 75% of their body missing. This suggests that the corruption actually forms a relationship with the person's body and is able to stabilize them and keep them functioning. Albeit they do appear to be near death, they can still think, and probably the most disturbing aspect, can still feel. Why the marker would deem it necessary to keep a person alive and functioning during this horrifying stage is beyond me, but it does make for some interesting biology. Let's jump into that for a moment, for like a little offshoot here. The corruption must clearly be coursing through the veins of the person and feeding the brain oxygen, which means this is almost like a deliberate attempt to keep the person alive, and not really just a byproduct of it. The corruption would also need to carry out the metabolic processes for the remainder of the body that it would typically undergo on a day-to-day basis, and you also got to figure this thing is stressing the body, so any metabolic processes you do have are going to be sent into overdrive. So again, this kind of leads even more credence to that it's a supplementary role that the, I guess, marker has a plan for this body. Definitely interesting, if not absolutely terrible. Anyhow, at this stage, the person is going to be extremely weak and lethargic, but then again, I'm fairly certain I would be pretty weak and lethargic if most of my organs in my body were dissolved. The Proto Wall Guardian is going to be easily dispatched and dealt with, unlike its final form. Typically, the creature is not really going to draw too much attention and and will play dead when anyone is near until they come close to investigate. The Proto will lash out at them with its intestines that hang from its torso. The host has no longer any control over this function, but the person does peel back their skin hanging around the intestines to allow the intestines to actually strike. Whether this is done out of pain, reaction, or something else is unknown, although just from my layman's perspective, judging by the proximity of the corruption to the spine, it may be an automatic function, but really, there's no way to honestly tell if the corruption is having a direct interface with the spinal cord moving the arms. Anyhow, this is basically going to do very little damage to the person, but it does some damage. So if you're really low on health, I suppose it could technically kill you. Given enough time and with no Isaac in sight, a Proto Wall Guardian will collect enough biomass to become a full-blown Wall Guardian. The body at this point will be completely fused with the surrounding corruption, and they have been changed significantly. At this point, any remaining human features beside the head are going to be completely indistinguishable. So the Guardian is still going to scream and moan at this point, and not like a "I'm a necromorph, I'm going to kill you" scream, like a human in a monumental amount of pain scream. Take a listen to this, it's pretty bad. Yeah, basically sounds pretty painful. This says to me that even still, the brain is somewhat functional and able to feel what is happening to it. Really, the only thing I could think of that would rival this literal hell is going to be the case of Private Jenkins when he was infected by the Flood in Halo, but only half infected and had to live through the experience. As you come into the room, first and foremost, the thing you will probably notice is going to be the sheer size of the Wall Guardian. Earlier, it was just some skinny dude tacked to the wall trying to smack you. Now it is a large creature weighing several hundred pounds, and since that's a generalized term, weighing several hundred kilograms. That's right. I'm going international. There are many things that have changed at this point. The human arms have disappeared completely from the Wall Guardian by either reabsorption or atrophy, as they served no purpose with the corruption. The head has been heavily altered, and pretty much the lower jaw is going to be completely removed, with most of the neck disappearing as well. Although there is still somewhat of a neck, as the trachea is exposed, which leads to the wide open thoracic cavity. There sits a sac that houses a couple of things. The first is going to be the tentacles that further anchor the creature to the wall, which are brought out should anyone get close enough. It also houses a razor-sharp tentacle made out of intestines and probably some form of bone that will take out anyone who gets too close. The sac is also able to spew out a type of embryonic spawn known as pods. What are pods, you ask? Well, I would be happy to tell you. A pod is going to be what appears kind of like somewhat of a person. Now, I am not certain if this person was killed and absorbed into the sac, or if the corruption actually makes these things automatically, but when a person is too far from the tentacles to reach, the Wall Guardian will push out these pods for ranged attacks. A heavily distorted mouth and a pair of eyes can be seen on the twisted version of whatever this thing is. The tentacles appear to dig into the spine of the embryo and fling sharp vertebrae at you. It will throw with such a force that it is able to pierce rig armor. The pods are then filled with some explosive yellow fluid that exists with like the exploders and all of like the necromorphs. I will be doing a video on that liquid when I figure out what it is. Upon a person getting too close to these things, they become grenades. They will explode, tearing apart anyone near them with shrapnel from the bones. So, what does it take to put down a Guardian? Well, as stated, if you get too close, it will take you out. But if you take a step back and wait for the intestines to come out, that kind of like anchor it to the wall, at this point, it pretty much just becomes target practice. Shoot the tentacles, and it's like shooting the limbs off of a necromorph. It'll knock it out so you can pass. Short on time, don't think it's a threat, think you can sneak around it? Nope. The Wall Guardian sees all. If you try to get into its face too quickly, it will remove yours from your body. Wandering too close is an instant death, no matter if you were wearing armor or how much health you had. The sharp barbed intestines will shoot out instantly and decapitate a person with little effort. It is best just to give this thing the time required to take it apart. Look, all I'm saying is, I imagine if you did a tuck and roll IRL, you would probably make it, but then again, I wouldn't be the first one to try. Anyhow, so that does it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed the covering of the Wall Guardian. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button, and if you really liked it and want to keep keep up the channel, smash that sub button and tag that Notre Dame bell and stay updated. Per usual, I want to thank the bros and broettes on the Patreon. For our scientists, we have Layla Alizarin, and then we got your boy Master BC. Thanks for the support, guys. At the resident tier, we've got G. Anderson, John Russo, and Richard Muhlenberg. Then with our Masters in Biology, we've got Adam Hartswick, Andrew Lawson, Brian H. Briggs, Cameron Smith, and Ryan Garnham. With their bachelors in morphological sciences, we have a big fat snake, Dustin Ellis, also known as Mailing Address, Eric Scott Gillies, and Natsuki Chiaki. Thank you guys for the continued support. If you would like to become a patron, I will drop a link in the description. Also, did you know that I have a Discord? It's getting to be actually a pretty large group with very like-minded people discussing lore and posting a lot of memes. So hit up the link if you want to join that. It'll be down in the description. Also, I stream on Twitch occasionally. I'll be posting that as well. Okay, so thank you for watching, guys, and as always, I will see y'all in the next one.